We have something a little bit different for you here in this spot. Yesterday, my father and I were just talking about his time in Cuba in relation to that Ozzie Guillen story, and we put it on the internet, our conversation about that, and many people wrote in saying that should be on the air. People need to see that so they can understand the Ozzie Guillen situation in Miami a little better. So here it is. Do you remember the first time you heard Fidel Castro's name?
When I was in Cuba? Yeah, I remember him.
And what, was it fear? Was it?
When I was in Cuba, the first time he came down from the mountains, he was a hero, right? Yeah, he was a hero. He got the support of most of the Cuban population there. But he misled everybody. So what are you going to do?
When did you start getting the sense that you were being misled, that Fidel Castro's regime wasn't what he promised?
Well, when I was in school, I had to join the, was a military group for the students. And they were talking about the relationship that I had to have with the government. That was more important than with the family and this and that. So I figured that there was something that I didn't quite understand. So I went and talked to my father about it. Then I realized that things that were not as they had been promised. They were trying to divide the family. So your mother had a more difficult time than I did.
What happened with her?
Well, you know that her brother was a political prisoner, and she had to go and visit him in jail. And
for no reason, right? A political prisoner for no reason. Basically, he just didn't support the government. It's sort of like, it's dumbfounding. It's like the difference. All he had was a difference that Democrats and Republicans have. He wasn't trying to do anything bad to the government. No. He just didn't agree with the politics of the government.
That's
and
right.
He ended up in jail for a decade for no good reason. Mom is still traumatized by going to that prison to visit him over many, many years.
You know, he saw the blood on the walls where they were killing people by the firing squad and all that. She was
Mom
very
still
young.
talks about that. The firing squads, how traumatized she was by seeing the blood on the walls as she went into the prisons. What do you remember about leaving Cuba for the United States?
No, I had very good years in Cuba, and I left Cuba when I was 17 years old because there were some friends of mine that were being persecuted by the government, and my father decided for me to leave the country.
Did he explain it to you?
He said that, hey, listen, you better get out of here, and we'll get together again in about 6 months.
So, so you come to this country and you don't have anything, right? You don't speak English, you don't have anything, and you just come to this country. And you don't really have an understanding of why your father, so many parents did this. You don't have an understanding really of why Abuelo was doing this, right?
Well, he knew that. He said to me, you got to get out of here because I'm afraid I'm going to lose you. I said, okay, whatever you said. I always follow his advice, so that was it.
I can't even imagine how hard that was for him. I mean, can you imagine? I never talked to Grandpa about that. Like how hard that had to be for Grandpa to say, here, you're 17 years old, go to a different country. You don't know English. Like, how hard did that have to be for him?
Well, I mean, you got to make some decisions. So he made a decision, the best decision that he ever made, I guess.
Yeah, it was a good decision. He chose wisely. Now, but he didn't come 6 months later, right? It took him much longer to get here, didn't it?
5 years.
It took 5 years. He thought it was going to be 6 months.
Yeah,
and it
6, 7 months.
And it ended up taking 5 years. So you're here from 17, 18, 19, 20. You're here those years, and you don't have your family. And you weren't prepared to leave your family.
Yeah, well, you know, you do what you got to do. What are you going to do? You do what you got to do. So, you know, I did what I had to do. I left Cuba because my father knew that if they were going to put me in the military and I had to be away from the family, they were going to take me away from the family, which at that time I didn't know, you see. He knew that. He had that vision because I was too young. And maybe they'll ship me to Angola, Africa, or someplace like that. Maybe I got killed or got hurt, or, you know. That's what he did.
You would have been terrible in Castro's army. You would have been terrible. You've been running out there.
Well, I was always a lover, never a fighter.
You would have been out there.
I was always after the girls.
There were no. You would like been so bad with a bayonet.
I was always after it.
So bad. Do you ever think about going back?
No, I don't. Planning going back as long as he's there.
Mom cries. Mom cries when we go on a cruise ship and she can see the island from
Yeah.
from the boat because you had your childhood stolen, you had your freedoms stolen. But you'll go back if he and his brother are out of power, you think?
I may, just to visit, not to live there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I just it's very difficult for me to go back there. Because it has changed so much. You know, there's different way of life. There is no incentive, and everything has been destroyed. And
it's stuck in the 1960s.
No, it's worse than that. 1960 was a nice country.
Well,
now you got buildings that they fall off, and they got potholes in the street, and you know, people don't have anything to eat. Well, I don't want to see that. What am I going to see that for? Because the tourists, they go to hotels, but they don't go to where the people is, you know, suffering. And so, well, I don't want to go to a hotel. And what am I going to do in a hotel? Drink. Give money to Castro, not me.
Drink, you can go to a hotel, drink,
no,
prostitutes.
No, not me.
Parties, Cuban rum.
I got to say that I have been in this country, how long? 50-some years, since 1961. I have never given that guy a penny. I'm proud of that.
Nothing.
Nada. You got nothing from me.
Nothing. Every once in a while, I smoke a Cuban cigar, but I'm not giving him money. I'm burning his fields in protest.